Aloha, residents!
Oh, yeah.
And welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself. Don't.
Kalikimaka is a thing to say. Did I do it right that time?
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah. Cool.
I had nothing else Hawaiian to say.
They did play that song everywhere.
I bet. You went to Hawaii at Christmas time.
Yeah. I mean, it's what you do.
Was it that and that one ukulele cover of Over the Rainbow?
I mean, have I heard both of those while I was on that trip? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what else are you gonna do? There's a few other in the
Hawaii 5-0 theme.
Yeah. That would be really weird. Everywhere you go. Yeah.
Book 'em, Dano.
Cool. Yeah. I dented a lot of the tops of cars. Hoods of cars. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself. Oh yeah, you already did that. Okay.
Oh no.
Aloha. Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Do you hear how fucking chill Richard is right now?
Look, feels like the right episode to have to care less.
I mean, listen, I think I was deliberately we got to ease back into the year.
Mm-hmm.
A, we've been off for a holiday. B, we've been apart from each other longer than I'd like.
Now, longer than we ever have.
Well, other than the Great Richard disappearance.
Yeah, but that wasn't, you saw me in that time.
I don't count anything that's not on mic.
Oh, sure.
No, it's true, though. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, you doing all right?
I'm fine now.
Okay.
Not much of a holiday, though.
I'm fucking chilled out.
You're very chill to the point that it's I don't want to say it's upsetting me because that's an overstatement, but it's throwing me off.
Yeah. Sure.
You make me seem unchill by comparison.
Yeah.
Which is obviously
unlike before. Yeah.
A disruption of our normal
Yeah,
vibe.
no, of course. You classic chill guy.
I mean, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a travel spreadsheet.
Look. I've talked about the travel spreadsheet with my therapist, and she fully supports it.
Yeah, that feels like you've left some stuff out then in the telling. The only way that she'd support it feels like you left a bunch out.
That's not true. I gave her the full details. She says as long as it's not harmful, it's good.
Right. What does she say about me?
Anyways.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You are very concerned about what I say to my therapist.
I mean, a little bit. Why? Does it come off as controlling?
Yeah.
Give me your phone.
Oh, my God. We won another award.
Baby. We freshly won an award.
Yeah. And
we're barely dried off from winning an award.
And God, if we fucking won Leisure last year, just wait for this year.
Yeah, when they hear how leisurely this
I'm
episode
so fucking
is,
leisure.
Yeah, man.
I'm a regular Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah, we've won our third Canadian Podcast Award in as many years.
I said this to you before we went on mic, but it's ridiculous that this is the critical awarded
critically acclaimed.
This is the one where it's look, maybe the fans aren't there, but the people who get it,
By the way, that's only relative. There's still fans of this show.
Yeah, there's a handful.
Easy. But yeah, I do find that funny.
Yeah. This is what we do. This is for us. With the other show we do for the people, right?
One for them, one for you. That's it's that classic.
People who get it, listen to this show.
Listen, we've got range. We could do something for the popular, society. That's over there.
Bloody cum rags.
Popular things. But over here, this is
art.
Erudite
fucking
shit.
Yeah. This is real
I just said the sentence erudite fucking shit. So
I mean, if that doesn't explain this podcast, I don't know what does.
Yeah. That'll be the award we win next year.
Yes, the outstanding erudite fucking shit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was fun. I watched the podcast awards with my family. It was great.
I was driving from a comic book store to a beach in Hawaii.
I love that. I love that you actually bothered to keep up with it.
I put it up on the little
Yeah.
while I was driving. I put the YouTube thing up on the console and
Nice.
drove. Live in Aloha, baby.
Yeah, baby.
And so
I love it. That's great.
If you want to hear more about it, you'll have to subscribe to the Patreon. But
It's Personal Confessions January, and part of that will be
that's right, it
part of
is.
that will be telling all about his spicy Hawaiian vacation.
Yeah, a real poke bowl of content.
Yes, sure. It's raw.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
spicy.
Yeah. Oh my god, that did work.
Yeah,
Fuck, he's chill, but he's on.
that's what vacation does to you, apparently.
Listen, we're all just coming back. It's a new year, and I thought, what better way to ease back in?
Then Stump the doctor,
No, that's not what this theme is.
isn't it?
Well, it's not that. It's not like difficult questions.
No,
it's
but
actually
you're-
the opposite.
Yeah, but you're stumping the
Yes.
doctor.
Yeah, as you've seen from the episode title, we're doing things Oppa Stump Chunkman style.
I thought Stump the doctor was like a better version of that, but yeah, that insane title also works.
What? You don't like a 14-year-old reference?
Much like what the courts have told me, 14-year-olds is
Easy. Easy. Yeah, we're just going through a bunch of Stump submitted and also Stump style. What's the deal questions. Just really broad and open. Just talk about a few characters and just kind of get
from our
back.
chunks people.
Yeah, from our chunks folk.
Yes, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't we get into all of the chunky
Yeah.
questions?
Hey, Stumpy Chunkman. Op.
Stump-
Oppa Stump
Chunkman
Chunkman style.
What I like about that is how easily it comes out of your mouth.
Find a nickel.
Out?
Yeah, just like
Rarely comes out.
never mind.
It's just a little on your face. Is that what you're going to say?
No,
Yeah.
I was gonna make like a.
We all know you don't spit. That's for sure.
No, it was more like no.
You come on. You can't keep
It's
almost
getting
saying
worse every time.
Will you explain it? Is it like a tsunami of?
How dare you?
Yeah, it was
You
inappropriate.
went to Japan.
Yeah, I know. That's that part.
Yeah. But you did go to Maui.
Yep.
Nothing bad happened there this year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a fire sale of
Oh my God, they're having a
fire
sale.
sale. Oh, the humanity. It's a fire sale.
Yeah.
Let's get to Facebook.
Go to the face and the book. Go to the Facebook.
From Adam Upper. Upper, I
hardly know her.
What's Kong Kanan's deal?
Right. So, right. Kong Kanan. I'm pretty sure you're saying that right. Chris Chan got at us the last time because I kept saying Kong Keenan, I think.
I don't know.
I'm going to go with you.
Kong Kanan Thompson.
So Kong Kanan is otherwise known as like New Superman with a hyphen in there. He's the Superman of China, essentially. He's a
super Chinaman.
No. How dare you? First the tsunami thing and then this.
Wow, that's fucked up that you would put those two together just because they're both Asian.
No, just
oh yeah,
geographically.
Japanese, Chinese, the same to read. Don't you fucking come for me.
The tables, they're turning.
I might be chill, but I'm also a fucking scorpion.
Oh no. And I'm just a frog trying to get across a river.
Yeah, I'm on the beach, but I still got claws.
So he's the Superman of China. He has all the powers of Superman, essentially. Well, he did. He has a sort of weird origin because he comes on the scene in a time where it was just before the rebirth and Dr. Manhattan's been messing with time sort of thing.
Okay.
So he came around in the New 52, but he at the time got his powers from the dying New 52 Superman. But that Superman wasn't the only Superman because the pre-Flashpoint Superman had made it to this timeline because of the events of Convergence, the event we don't speak of.
Of course.
The dying New 52 Superman, somewhere in there, Kanan gets his powers.
Now, is that Kanan, Nicole?
Yeah, canonically. Canonically. I was trying to put the Kong in there, too.
No.
That didn't work.
Kong Nong.
No. feel like we're getting further from it.
Yeah, and potentially more offensive.
Yes, definitely. But then that got like it would be fine and very comic booky to be like, well, there was a different Superman and I got powers from him. But then they did this thing called Superman Reborn where they took the New 52 Superman and the pre-Flashpoint Superman and they made their timeline one. So now there was only one Superman. So then you go, where did he get his powers from then?
Oh, that's weird.
And you kind of go like, ah. And anyway, all of these things have kind of been like messy retcon. And then eventually in his own series, in New Superman, which then got retitled to New Superman and the Justice League of China, which was really cool book. Eventually he sort of unlocked a slightly different power set. He basically has the powers of Superman. He's part of the extended super family, but his powers are connected to like the different like chi energies. Like this is like, I'm bastardizing a thing I don't understand, but there's like 8 different like chi focal points on the body and they all mean something different, and his correspond to different powers. So like in the head, that's like his like heat vision powers or something. The one in the like legs is like his speed. Like each one is one of those. But so his power set is shifted from being like genetically Kryptonian or kind of like science-y kind of thing to being more like Chinese mythical, a little magical even powers. And correspondingly, he's got a really cool like emblem design where it's the shape of the Superman shield, but the S is a yin and yang symbol. It's really like
I've
sharp.
seen it. Yeah, it's cool.
Real sharp looking, but a cool character. And he's a little like, he's harder edged than Superman is. Like we talked about it on the Doxners, but I think you and I have talked about it too. There's a moment in that Rise of Metallo story where Kung Kanan is like, why would you just take him to prison again so he could do this again? Like, look what he did to your family. Look what he's done to Metropolis. We should stop him. Kind of implying, like,
kill him,
put him down. And Superman has this great kind of response where he's like, if we do that, then this is the best he'll ever be. We don't give him the chance to be better if we do that.
Sure, yeah.
And it's such a good, like, you know, and New Superman's not like I hate that. Like, it's that he's learning.
Sure.
You know, he has all of this power and he's young and it's hard to know what to do with it or whatever, but so he is a little more brash, a little more abrasive, a little maybe more unscrupulous than some of the other members of the super family, but he is learning and he's good fundamentally and stuff like that. A really interesting character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's a character I've encountered a few times in Superman.
Well, and he pops up in Action Comics.
Yeah.
Like if you've been reading those, you'll see him show up every once in a while. But his series is worth checking out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Superman's interactions within Asia itself are always really fun and interesting.
Yeah, because wasn't there that Bizarro story that we did a couple of years ago or whatever? That was
and you got to explore a bunch of their like interesting characters and yeah. And next question comes from Stephen Marion Almagro, who asks, "What's the deal with insomnia?" Well, when you can't sleep, sometimes you're up.
Okay.
And
when you can't sleep, sometimes you're up. That feels like not insomnia.
No. But
if you can't sleep, you are up.
Yes.
Not sometimes.
Well, yeah, but those sometimes when you can't sleep, those are also sometimes that you're up. It works.
I don't know, man.
From a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view.
Yeah. Who's a
couldn't mean old bed sleep.
Just stop. You jumped the shark with that joke.
I will jump it back 1,000 times.
Yeah, I guess if you do it
works
1,000 more times, you've already made the perfect joke,
and no one appreciated it. So now
you get the worst versions of it
until it's unbearable.
Yeah,
you didn't deserve me at my best, so now you get me at my worst.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean, you're always at your worst because you're eating sausages all the time.
I had some tonight. I did actually.
You were at your worst.
Listen, I made it through this whole holiday and only gained 5 pounds.
Wow.
Which I'm
Me too.
Already in the process of losing.
Yeah.
So I did okay.
A couple of massive shits.
Oh, I've had a couple of real doozies that I didn't take pictures of, I guess.
Real doozies.
Oh, see? That's spoken like a
This
guy
is the type of jokes we get.
But this is spoken like a guy that wants to look at my shit.
No!
I don't know. I just can't read you, man. So, Insomnia. A relatively recent DC character was the main villain of the Night Terrors event that just happened back in the summer.
Sure.
And only got his powers during the Lazarus Planet event, which happened at the beginning of last year. This time last year, basically. So, Insomnia, his real name is Christopher Lucas. And essentially, he saw his whole family die. I can't remember precisely when, but he's from Gotham.
That's never good.
Shit happens, you know. It might have been during the story might be that it was during like metal or death metal or something like that. Like one of the big crisis events. But basically during Lazarus Planet, when the Lazarus Rains give a bunch of people new powers and stuff like that, he gains a connection to specifically the nightmare realm, the dark side of Dream. And in Night Terrors, he has this crusade to get the Nightmare Stone, which give him all this amplified power to...
Of course, there's a stone, yeah.
Well, there's a Dream Stone that's in Sandman.
Oh, sure, okay.
The Nightmare Stone is kind of like a nothing bullshit thing made up only for this event.
Of course.
That it was never part... Because in Sandman...
Nightmares are part of Dream.
Dream and Nightmare are one thing.
Yes.
There's... You know, you could imagine it like there's the elephant graveyard over there, but they're part of one realm, essentially.
Sure, yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
They're separated on the map of the multiverse, but those things are like... Yeah, like Olympus and Tartarus are separate, but they're connected. You know what I mean? Like, It's the same kind of deal. So, at any rate, there was all this kind of manufactured stuff. An event where somehow Dream never shows up. Even though Dream does show up in fucking Dark Knight's Metal.
So weird.
The craziest shit in the world. And I have my problems with Night Terrors and all that kind of thing. But his whole thing was to get the Nightmare Stone because it would give him this amplified power to like rebuke like good dreams, to make nightmares real, to drag the world into the nightmare realm, all this kind of stuff. They stop him, and he dies, or it looks like he dies. It's comics, and that's it basically. But all that really did in terms of the continuity of things was it did kick off at the end of that event, the helmet of hate gets passed on to someone in the employ of Amanda Waller. But yeah, Insomnia, basically, he had nightmare powers. He could make nightmares come to life. He had like, so oneromancy, so like he could control dreams and nightmares. He could like telepathically insert himself into your own mind and dreams and nightmares. He had like illusion casting abilities, all that kind of stuff. And of course, he can move between the extra dimensional realm of Dream and or Nightmare and the real world. But those were kind of his powers. He shows up in maximum 30 issues, and most of those are tie-in things to the Night Terrors event, not like 30 issues of Batman or Justice League or some shit like that. So he's a relatively new character with not a huge footprint, other than the fact that there was this one big event kind of around him. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Another question from Steven. What's the deal with Goldface?
Goldface.
I'll get you, Goldface.
Yeah. Threat level midnight.
It'll make you feel all right.
Goldface is, we talked about him a little bit. He's a terrestrial villain of Green Lantern.
Hey, yeah. Terrestrial.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Except Vin right now.
Oh no.
Yeah, he's being sued for sexual battery or something like that.
No.
Yeah.
Is that like going a vibrator? Or?
Oh man. No. It's more like a burrator. No, that's not it either. If you were worried that we weren't going to be backfiring on all cylinders, they're taking the award away from us. Seems they sided with Vin Diesel.
Yeah, sexuality is electric.
Jesus, no.
Anyways,
good lord. What the fuck was I saying?
Goldface.
a terrestrial villain of Green Lantern. I was like, how did we even get on that? Meaning Earthbound. He's just like a human on Earth that fights Green Lantern. Because before Green Lantern had a ton of space adventures, or even during, he had like Earth bad guys like Dr. Polaris and Hector Hammond and the Shark and all this kind of stuff. Goldface is one of them. Who essentially there's a few different versions of him, but he had essentially a version of a King Midas thing. I think at one point it was tech. In some versions, it's his touch. Like in Justice League Unlimited, Goldface is in there.
Is this like where the yellow thing starts, or
no? But it's not where it starts. But that's why he's a Green Lantern villain, because he had the yellow as a weakness, which was just set up in general for Silver Age Green Lantern.
Okay.
And they were like, so then who would be a great bad guy? A guy that's all yellow. Sure. And he was all yellow. I gold a face.
I faced a gold for you. Nice.
Yeah. And save every ring you use.
But
and it was all
yellow.
Gold.
Oh, yeah.
Yellow. At any rate, Goldface is in the Flash TV show in later seasons. He's actually one of the better villains that they've got in the kind of back half of that series.
Weird.
In that one, he's got this like gold chain and he can like control it and stuff like that. But yeah, different versions of him. It's more of like a King Midas-y thing. It was either tech or he had powers, but he could turn things to gold. And he was covered head to toe in gold.
God, if that was a thing I could do, the last thing I would do is like do crime. I would just be like, I make everything gold. I live off of that for the rest of my life.
True. I mean, I agree, but that's less interesting, I suppose, in a comic book. I was leaving everyone alone, Green Lantern. It's like, no, wealth goes to the wealthy. Yeah. Like, Green Lantern kicks the door and be like, you're going to Fort Knox, baby.
Yeah. You failed the city.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a ton to say about Goldface. I wouldn't say he's like a super rounded out character, at least not in my mind, but you'll see him in different things. Yeah.
Totally. Next question comes from, again, Adam Upper, who asks, what's the deal with Ran Thanagar?
Right.
Ran/Thanagar.
Ran and Thanagar. Two different planets.
Yeah.
So Thanagar, we have talked about a lot. It's the home of the Silver Age Hawks. The Qatar Hall and Shaira Thal versions, like alien cop versions of Hawkman and Hawkwoman. They come from Thanagar. Which is a planet in the Polaris system. The planet Ran, do you remember who that's connected to?
Nope.
Adam Strange.
Oh, that's right.
So Adam Strange gets sort of accidentally Zeta beamed to Ran, and he becomes this sort of like very pulpy, like Rocketeer kind of superhero on cool. Ran. Which is awesome and really neat. And then the Zeta beam wears off and he ends up back on Earth and he's got to find when it's going to hit next. So he always has this, like, he's only there for a limited amount of time.
Does anybody else ever figure out the beta?
Zeta beams work perfectly for everyone else. It's just something fucks up for Adam and it's like genetically like fucked up for him.
Oh.
Zeta beams work basically all the time, pretty much for anyone else.
Oh, okay. It's not a thing just like shows up and then you have to jump into it.
No, his is, I can't remember why it's always at regular intervals. I think maybe like Sardath, who's this Ranian scientist, I think he's using it maybe for communication or something. Something fucks up though en route,
okay.
And it messes with Adam. So Adam has like a unique relationship to the Zeta
So is this
beam.
usually, like, do people usually call upon Zeta beams like you would with like whenever you need
like
it?
Like the Bifrost?
Yeah,
mean?
kind of, yeah.
Sometimes, but it's because it's technology, it needs like a receiving device.
But sure, but that's typically how it works.
Adams, which
is like a
it just
device?
Beams to Earth and he gets there when it's there and it'll beam him, but then it'll wear off and he'll end up back on Earth.
Okay.
But like, for example, I just went back and I reread the entire James Robinson Starman series because I got the second compendium, so I read start to finish. And in that one, they use Zeta beams, but they have to set up receivers and that to open these big Zeta portals to bring like an army through or whatever they were doing. Yeah. So it's a little bit different than the Bifrost. It's more like on Star Trek when they have to set up like pattern buffers to do a lot of transporting or something. It's closer to something like that. So at any rate, Thanagar is a very like warlike world. The Thanagarians are a very like warlike species.
Hence Hawks.
Hence the Hawks, you know. Ran are a really cold, sciencey species. Not
like Krypton?
Well, in a way like Krypton, but maybe a little possibly even colder.
Wow,
like
okay.
Krypton was sort of like aloof and sciencey.
Sure.
Although in that
Vulcans,
in that Starman series you see a slightly cruel,
but like kind of like Vulcans kind of thing, yeah.
More like Vulcans,
sure, yeah.
Whereas Ran is more like Ran is the sort of planet where they would just keep making Jurassic Parks.
Sure.
A bunch of like coulda not shoulda.
So just Earth
sort of science, but like a little. You know, they're not maybe as emotionally stunted, but they're a little colder. It's like a logic.
Sure, yeah.
And Sardath really embodies that. His daughter, Alana, is a little different, and she falls in love with Adam Strange. They have a kid together, so that's this kind of like romance across the stars. But Ran and Thanagar have gone to war a few times.
Okay.
So pre-Crisis, they went to war for a reason I don't remember. But it comes up. And they even reference it post-Crisis. When they're talking again, because I freshly read the Starman series, it comes up in there. He has a whole adventure with Adam Strange, like on Ran, and they talk about how the war is ended or whatever.
So why do they hate each other?
Well, the Thanagarians are pretty imperialist. The Ranians are like the most insufferable elitists.
Sure.
You know, and that sort of thing.
Are they really close too, like the planets?
So the second Ran-Thanagar war gets kicked off. I think it's the second one, unless there's a third time. But the next time they go to war, it gets kicked off because the planet Ran gets teleported to the Polaris system.
Oh.
And it fucks up Thanagar's orbit and throws the planet into the sun. And the surviving Thanagarians now live on Ran, and the tensions couldn't be higher.
Sure.
And that kicks off its own thing. Now, that's all part of Infinite Crisis and stuff like that, and moving planets, and that is part of like the bigger kind of cosmic scheme of Infinite Crisis. But Ran and Thanagar once again plunged into war, at least culturally. I think they're more on the same planet during that one. So they have a history of fighting, but Adam Strange and the Hawks get along. Like they're always the ones that are like, please, like,
sure,
trying to stop it. The Ran Thanagar war that I just talked about, where it also ends up involving like Tygor of the Omega Men, Blackfire, Starfire's sister. A Tamaranian. It ends up invoking a bunch of other aliens and things like that. Onimar Sin is the bad guy in that one, who's a Thanagarian with like godlike control of nth metal. Basically, I could use it to make anything, to reform his body, to do anything essentially. It's all right. It's not my favorite of the Ran Thanagar War. Was a 6-issue series leading up to Infinite Crisis, along with Day of Vengeance, the OMAC Project, and Villains United. It's not my favorite one of those, but it's pretty good. But they've got a long history of that. But basically, they don't see eye to eye. Like one is the blunt instrument and one is the brainy society.
Sure.
And I think that's mostly the source of their thing, because I think in general, Ran prefers peace, but they are super, I would say, xenophobic.
Sure.
They really hate other races.
Yikes.
At least as a broad statement.
Or other species and
things like that. Kind of like, in a way like Kryptonians, but certainly like Daxamites.
Sure.
So, yeah, they kind of have that thing. And Thanagarians are just very imperialist and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're hard to get along with.
All right, well, with that, let's leave Facebook and head on over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
Wow, I kind of do the drums.
That was last year.
Oh, awesome. If you want to do the whole fucking thing, that's fine.
No, please don't make me.
I'm
sorry.
While I was in Hawaii, it was so hot some of those days.
Okay.
That the only way that I could help myself is if I took like a piece of my clothing and then like put it in a block of ice.
Oh my God. The Iceman costumes. Oh my God. He's back.
Yeah, that's right.
He's back. We're back.
That's right.
The dinosaur movie. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You see that they're remaking the other dinosaur movie,
Land Before Time.
Yeah.
Is that real?
Yeah, it's real.
Because I saw like that Pixar poster and I was like, "This is an AI."
It looks like
thing,
one of the thousands of AI things.
Yeah,
Apparently, no, it's real.
That's real.
That is the one that's real. I know.
Pixar did a dinosaur movie. No one saw it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The little
good dinosaur.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
No, Littlefoot is Land Before Time.
Yeah.
Did you watch those when you were a kid? Were you a Land Before Time kid?
I watched the first like one or two.
I think I watched one and didn't like.
It's like
there's
Ice
like
Age.
20 of them.
The first one's just like unbelievably sad for no reason, and that like animation style back then.
That first Ice Age movie is so sad.
Yeah.
Like, why is like Manny's whole family gets fucking murdered?
Oh, why'd you kill me?
Oh no, Deborah Mammoth.
I'm dead, bruh.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, famed children's entertainers Ray Romano, Dennis Leary, and John Leguizamo.
Dennis Leary of all.
Be like, man, why are you Sabretooths always a thorn in our side? I'm an asshole.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because they wipe their ass with the American flag or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Iceman Customs asks, please talk about Apache Chief. Good luck.
Gulp. So this is a Super Friends character.
Sure.
So
really like tastefully done.
Really like tastefully, respectfully done.
Of course.
With lots of input from various First Nations counterparts, I'm sure.
Yes.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm just getting a note here. A white guy did this. So Apache Chief was a character on Super Friends who, as you may imagine, was Apache.
And a chief.
And a chief. He had a few different powers, some more racist than others.
Oh, wonderful.
He had the power he had size alteration powers. He could grow really big and stuff like that, which was pretty cool power. He also had like clairvoyance in that sort of like spirit talky kind of way.
Sure, of course.
I think he could do a couple of other things, but those were sort of his.
He was able to pull a single tear from his eye when he saw garbage.
Oh no. Oh no. Those are sort of the big ones. What I will say is that there have been better versions of Apache Chief since. So Justice League Unlimited does one of the better ones. They have this, they sort of adapt those extra Super Friends characters like Samurai and Black Vulcan, who was their version of Black Lightning because it was either before Black Lightning or they didn't have the right, like something weird. His name was Black Vulcan, but he had lightning powers.
Yes, I do know this character.
All these kind of things. Justice League Unlimited adapts those characters as a group called the Ultimate, and that group is revealed in the show to be like Cadmus clones that they're trying to make their own superheroes in case the Justice League goes bad. Waller's behind it, and they make like multiple versions of these clones, and eventually there's this big kind of blowout fight between the Justice League and them. But that version of Apache Chief is called Long Shadow, and his only real power is the size changing. He grows really big, like Atom Smasher, or like Giant Man in Marvel, or something like that. And it's a pretty cool power. Long Shadow is really like a well done character on that show. Pretty cool. They also do a great version, similarly, of those characters as a group. They do that on Young Justice, except they are, I can't remember what they call them, but basically the Reach are experimenting on kids and they give them meta powers. And they're all like runaways or kids that are like abducted or stuff like that. But that version of Long Shadow is neat because he doesn't actually grow in size. That one, he has like an astral form where you see him like, you see this outline in like a shimmery gold of a body, but it's totally clear. So it's like an astral form, and he's just suspended in like the heart of it.
I like that. That's
which
cool.
is kind of a cool way to do it too. I sort of like that one. So there are kind of cool versions of those characters, but the short answer is go back and watch the Super Friends, and it's a bunch of like, and here's the Justice League, and here's their racial stereotype friends.
Yes, of course. Do, 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 do.
Yeah, so, you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's better versions of Apache Chief in other media.
Sure.
Yeah.
I always prefer the construction worker and the fireman, but...
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they were. Could you imagine? By our powers combined,
I just love
we
it that
are
it's...
the village people.
I do like that village people is just like, here's a job, you know, First Nations.
Yeah, it really falls apart. Yeah,
Cop, firefighter.
What are the
indigenous?
What are the foundational jobs of this country? Cop, fireman, construction worker, indigenous. Yeah, the pattern really kind of falls apart. Jesus. Yeah, who were the other ones? There were 6 of them. Who are the other ones? Cop, firefighter, construction worker, First Nations.
Yeah.
Who are the other 2? Pilot? No.
Pirate?
Pirate?
No, that would be good. Yeah, that would really fall apart. No, okay, let's see. I'll have it right here.
Yeah.
So, we've got... Oh, oh yeah. Army Man?
Of course, the army.
But I mean, it mixes up a lot, because here's the thing. It like... They're not always... Oh, sometimes Army Man's also a sailor?
Well, in the Navy.
Yeah.
In the Navy.
There's also just like motorcycle guy.
Oh, right. Leather Daddy.
Yeah, Leather Daddy.
Yeah. What are the 6 jobs?
Yeah.
At the heart of America.
Yeah. Police,
Four
construction.
of them are like vaguely militaristic jobs.
Cowboy.
Or 3 of them are militaristic jobs. One is a builder.
Yeah.
And then there's Leather Daddy and... Oh, Cowboy was one? That makes it so much more fucked up that they had...
The First Nations person's in there?
What the fuck?
And they would chase each other around. No.
I was on board with the village people before that.
No, now it's not okay.
Cowboy was one of them?
Yeah.
Jesus, there were so many village people.
Oh yeah, the YMCA was the Cowboy was one of the consistent characters that they would do. But yeah, that's
but no Pilgrim.
No.
Like, what was their theme? Like, it feels like in some ways
jobs.
they were like, what are like kind of American myth kind of things, and then in other ways they were just like,
yeah,
I don't know, like a fireman. Look,
you know, American myths like Leather Daddy.
Well, yeah, if you finish the puzzle box, then fucking Leather Daddy shows up.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm glad we figured that out. Next question comes from Copy 801, who asks, "What about the Shade?"
Man, this episode was so well timed because so many of these characters show up in Starman.
Really?
Oh man, the Shade is a huge part of Starman.
And is that brand new? The new Starman?
No, it's from the 90s.
Oh, just you read it.
I just happened to read it because
okay.
I got the second compendium.
Oh, sure.
So now I have the whole.
That's great.
The whole series, and I always loved that book. But so I've just freshly read like 100 issues of.
Oh, sure.
Of Starman and the Shade and like JSA Secret Files and stuff like that. So the Shade narrates a bunch of Starman.
Oh, wow.
A main character in that series. The Shade was a member of the Injustice Society. He's a Golden Age adversary of the Flash, Jay Garrick.
Mm-hmm.
But he's if you watch the Stargirl show, you know that the Shade is more complicated than just being a villain. The villain thing was sort of like, yeah, I guess I'll play at villain for a bit, but like I'm immortal. Like these things bore me. Sure. Morality bores me, so I'll just do what feels right sometimes.
Preach.
The Shade has shadow powers. He's Umbra kinetic. He's connected to the shadow realm, an extremely powerful like shadow magic user. He can make forms, he can teleport with it, he can vanish, he can control shadows, all sorts of things. And he does it inherently. He's not like Shadow Thief who has a device to do it. That's a power in him. He gets this power through arcane means that are connected to his arch enemy, Simon Culp, who also gets shadow powers. There's a whole runner in Starman about the Shade versus Culp.
Is he culpable?
I mean, the most. Is Culp able?
Whoa.
The Shade is most interesting, though, because of that sort of like the boredom of immortality kind of piece where they're like, aren't you a bad guy? And he goes like, that's so pedestrian. It's like, yeah, like I robbed a few banks or whatever. But it's like, then I got bored and I just like sitting in my like reading room and like, and he has this very Victorian and like always a top hat and a cane and like a cravat kind of thing.
Love this.
It's a really like, I actually think that Stargirl did a good job with the Shade. Like he plays that kind of, you know, erudite, a little
it's almost
aloof.
like vampiric. Like,
yeah, like, will I help? I don't know. Does it suit me? Like all those kind of like things like that. His real name is Richard Swift.
Oh.
He's a big part of that Starman series. He even got his own 12-issue series
nice.
Off of that. What else can be said about the Shade? Yeah, it's interesting because
you're not invited.
He's
bitch.
sort of a reclamation project because if you go and look, yeah, that's the Shade. Yeah. And my sidekick, the T. He's always tripping and be like, "Oops, I guess I spilled the tea."
God, this is the characters I want to see.
Yeah, the library is open. It's time to get red. Red for filth.
You bitch.
If you read those old Golden Age stories with the Shade, he's just a bad guy. And the Shade still shows up in Flash comics every once in a while. Even like in the Josh Williamson run, the Shade was in there. The Shade is still connected to the Flash. But he was sort of a reclamation project in the 90s where it's like he's actually a lot more complicated than this. He's not just a one-off film. They gave him this whole inner life and which I find very interesting. He's a real ally in Opal City. That's his home. That's the home of Starman. And Opal City style. I mean, that word fits a lot better than Oppa's Chunkman. Hey, Opal City. Oppa Stump Chunkman stuff. Fuck, damn it.
You can't say both.
At any rate, I highly recommend that you go seek out the Shades 12-issue series or read Starman, the James Robinson Starman series.
Or don't, you bitch.
Oh, yeah. Hey, what's the other Gus trip?
God, you're such a cunt. All right.
That's so aggressive.
That's what they say, like, that's like a thing, that guy.
I don't like it when you say it.
Oh,
no.
Okay, Hunty. Let's leave Instagram and head on over to Reddit.
Where everyone's nice, no one's ever mean.
That's correct. It's been 3 weeks, but you got it.
Hey, I nailed it.
You did.
We made it through Darkness. Oh, I didn't even ask, like, Bowley. How were you?
It all came out eventually.
Yeah.
At once.
You did send me a message that was like, I'm free of it. It was like, it all came out.
Yeah. It was, it all, yeah. The thing that we joked about during the Docmas about it, like the stopper.
Right.
It absolutely is the truth.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact because
there was one hard plug and then like 4 minutes of loose, watery diarrhea.
Yeah, the fucking dike was levied. But I on the right before I left Hawaii to come back, I had dinner right before.
Right.
And at the end they were like
it's milk dinner.
Well,
it's a traditional Hawaiian milk dinner.
Yeah, but it was ice cream for dessert. And I had literally the smallest amount of ice cream, like a tablespoon.
But you're gonna fly. Why
I know
are you doing
it was
this?
bad. Flying was
You are your own worst enemy.
Yes.
You indulge in
after this many years.
I know, but like even just like, I'm not even saying just normally. But it's like there's a flight tour. You'd be like, I'm sure this time it'll be fine.
It's like Darkness was mostly
you have
okay.
A paper thin constitution. You're always throwing rocks at it.
I mean, I could think of another paper thin constitution.
Oh my God.
That's right.
Yeah, that's why we're gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
It's written on the back. First question from Reddit from I'm Wallpaper.
Oh, okay. Are you reading it the way it's written?
No, I'm
okay. It's like, was there a bunch of underscores? Is that how you were doing it?
I just burped.
Oh, okay.
I'm Wallpaper who asks, I remember there being 2 Sandmen. The Neil Gaiman one and the guy who looks like he was a World War One had a World War One gas mask on. What's up with that?
I mean, there's actually more than 2 Sandmen. But those
dumb bitch.
Yeah. Next question. No.
Now who's got the shade?
Yeah. And no,
just keep going. I was kind of a Sandman in Hawaii.
That's cool, man. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh, she'll be doing
Oh, the Sandman.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the other.
You're so Sandman.
That's the other Sandman.
That's right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. How could we forget?
You can't forget about me.
Yeah. And then there's
Yep.
Oh, and then there's the green stripy shirt. I killed Uncle Ben Sandman.
Oh, yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then
what other ones? This is good. I'm glad we're doing this.
Well, back to the 2 main ones.
Okay.
So the one with the gas mask that you're talking about is the original Sandman, the Golden Age Sandman.
Yep.
That's Wesley Dodds, who coincidentally actually has his own series right now. Wesley Dodds the Sandman has his own series,
That's
which is
awesome.
And it's like a throwback thing. It's set in like the 30s or some shit, and it's cool. Totally worth checking out. So that is the original one. So yes, he had a gas mask. He didn't really have a super outfit, although he did briefly. But for the most part, his outfit is more like a pulpy detective thing with the mask, a kind of big like fedora hat, a cape, and he had a gas gun. And basically he would have these different gases that would make people fall asleep or stuff like that. He also would get like prophetic visions of crimes and then try to stop them. Mm-hmm. That was his deal. And he was a member of the Justice Society. The sort of, in the timeline of the universe, Sandman is actually considered, like Wesley Dodds is considered to be actually like older by like a half generation or so than most of the rest of the Justice Society.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like he was already old when they were getting, or like in middle age when they were getting together. There's a sort of age difference there, but that's his deal more or less. Really riffing on the like fall asleep Sandman kind of thing. When Neil Gaiman writes Sandman, he in the way that James Robinson's Starman also does a really cool thing. They tie in these little stray pieces from across the DC universe and make them part of one story. I'm sorry to keep bringing up Starman, but in Starman, they do it with the fact that they're like 8 different people have been Starman and none of them were connected.
Yeah.
And then in that series, they connect them all, which is crazy. Because some are aliens and some are whatever. In Sandman, the first adventure that Morpheus, the Dream Lord, has to go on when he gets freed from his captivity is he needs to retrieve 3 items. He needs to retrieve his helmet. He has to retrieve the Dream Stone. And he has to retrieve his bag of sand. What we learn is the Dreamstone was in the possession of Dr. Destiny, a Justice League villain that could control dreams. That's a real thing, a Dreamstone, not a fucking Nightmare Stone bullshit. That's a real thing. His sand they find in this issue with Constantine, where this woman is like using it like heroin, and
so
it's like
up.
fucking up the house and like reality around her. It's like deeply fucked. But what they do in that series is he's getting these things back to get his power back because he's been in captivity. While he's been in captivity, the universe, in the way that the universe does, has recognized that it's missing dream. It's missing the Lord of Dreams. And one of the ways it sort of tried to mitigate that was bestowing power on Wesley Dodds. Him getting a little bit of that sand, a little bit of that prophetic vision through dreams and that. It was almost the universe trying to correct, like, there has to be a dream. Like, where the fuck is he? Not that the universe is conscious or something like that, but, you know, in that sort of like cosmic kind of fate sort of way. The adjustment was him having some of those powers. So they worked that Sandman in to be part of a greater lineage of the Sandman, which is Morpheus, the Dream Lord. Of course, Morpheus dies in that series, and he's replaced by Daniel Hall, who becomes the new Sandman. It's not Morpheus; his name's Daniel. So he becomes a Sandman. There's a third Sandman, though, that they tie in there, which is a very brief Jack Kirby idea of a hero that only existed in dreams.
Oh.
But dressed like a superhero. And he's the Sandman. And in a very complicated web of things.
From Kirby?
Well, I mean, that is the less complicated part of it. The complicated part is how Gaiman's book weaves it back in.
Okay.
That Sandman is actually the soul of Hector Hall, the son of
Don Hall?
Carter and Shaira Hall, who was carried to term, though, or something, or reincarnated as the son of Hank Hall and Don Granger at a later time. Hector Hall, who then became Dr. Fate, but him and Lyta Trevor from Infinity Inc., they were Silver Scarab and Fury. They're in this dream. They're trapped there. Brute and Glob are using them for something. When Sandman comes back, he frees Hector's soul. That's when he reincarnates and becomes a child of someone else to eventually become Dr. Fate. Their child, though, who is born in the dream realm, is Daniel Hall, who eventually, because he was born in the dream realm, he's the one that inherits the mantle of the Sandman when Morpheus dies. So there's actually 3 main Sandmen in that lineage in DC. And then the 4th is Daniel Hall.
I take your question and I make it more complicated.
Yeah, well, there you go, baby.
All right, next question comes from...
That's Oppa Stump Chunkman style.
That's...
I wish I knew any of the other words to that song.
Hey, Stumpy man.
Well, no, I mean, I know that, but like, I was about to even try to sing a verse, and I was like, it can only be racist.
Yep.
If I just, because all I'd be doing is making sounds, because I didn't know
it. All right, next question from Draco Folly, who asks, what's up with Black Beetle? And is he the Blue Beetle's true arch nemesis?
Black Beetle in the...
Bam-a-lam.
Nice. Fuck yeah.
Did Black Beetle have a car?
Bam-a-lam. Damn thing gone scarab. Bam-a-lam. So Black Beetle in the comics is a member of the Time Stealers, and he's from the future.
Cool name.
And we're the Time Stealers. Well, I mean, they're the opposite of the Time Masters, of course.
Yeah, it's okay.
At any rate.
Not the Time Thieves or like stealers. Like, it's such a bad...
There's only one time thief, and that's Kronos the Time Thief.
You either steal something and you're a thief.
Yeah, you're a stealer.
Such a bad name.
The Pittsburgh Time Stealers. Wrong steal, but that's fine.
Yeah, we're the Pittsburgh Meddlers.
Yeah. Yeah, the Pittsburgh Metallurgists.
Yeah, ooh, very nice.
Some, like, prep school. Black Beetle in the comics. Yeah, he's from the future. He travels through time. He shows up mostly in... Well, he does show up in the context of Jaime Reyes as Blue Beetle.
Okay.
And in Booster Gold as a time... Booster Gold and Rip Hunter and that as time adventurers or whatever. I don't think I'd call him like the main arch enemy of Blue Beetle.
Not if he's showing up around Jaime Reyes time.
Well, but even for Jaime, like Jaime's arch enemy is the Reach.
Yeah.
It's the aliens that try to take over the Scarab or want to take over like planets and stuff like that. That's Jaime's big one, I would say, or at least it was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call Black Beetle that. And certainly not for Ted, that doesn't make any sense either. So, no, I wouldn't say that. On Young Justice, they do a different version of Black Beetle, which is in season 2 of Young Justice, they basically do the Reach are trying to invade Earth. And we see some different beetles. Blue Beetle, obviously, over the course of this, the Reach wants to reactivate his scarab and get it back, quote, on mode. Because something's defective with it. That's why it hasn't just taken control.
Sure.
Which is also true in the comics. Kashida is supposed to just take over, but they have a relationship, it's different. In the show, they do that, but we also see Green Beetle, which is a scarab attached to a Martian named Baarzo is the Green Beetle. And then we see Black Beetle, who's like the primary agent of the Reach. He's like their heavy.
Oh, sure.
He's just a Reach alien. We don't even learn his name, I don't think. But he comes out and he's got a really deep voice, and he's mastered the scarab, and he's evil and all this guy. He's like super strong. And on that show, he is absolutely Blue Beetle's archenemy.
Okay.
Because they're both scarabs, they're both beetles.
Yeah.
He is on mode. He's doing what he's supposed to, and Jaime is not. And there's they are absolutely arch enemies in the context of Young Justice. But in the comics, that Black Beetle is different. He's a human with a suit
from the future.
Stuff like from the future. It's not the same.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Next question from the Dr. E, who asks, "What's the deal with Amanda Waller?"
What do you know about Amanda Waller?
I mean, beyond like Suicide Squad and being like a government official, and I know about the whole fucking other multiverse thing where she's trying to fucking go to Earth, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, all the recent Amanda Waller is weird ass.
But as far as I know, is that she's like a government official who's in charge of like security or something, and essentially like decides that she wants to she hates like superheroes.
In a weird way, Amanda Waller is a little like you.
Oh.
In a very specific way, because obviously in many other ways she's nothing like you.
Yeah, I mean, I am a black woman, but
I mean, crazy reveal at this point of the show.
It's been really hard to mask it all these
try
years.
not to Rachel Dolezal yourself right now. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Amanda Waller, she's from Chicago, and initially,
Chi-Town.
Chi-Town. Tough life, and she a bunch of her kids got. Oh, do you know what? I may have, because I was reading up before this. I may have put some of this shit into the lore from Ghostfacers. One of her kids gets killed in a mugging.
Oh,
the other one gets attacked.
That's
or whatever.
So
her
funny.
husband gets killed, and I'm pretty sure I just threw that into talking about someone from the Bible.
That's
who had a bunch of other family members die. I just think I melded them together.
That's really
because I was reading a bunch of shit
you
before
fucking
we were recording.
Oh my god.
But at any rate, she resolves that she's not going to let violence take any more of her family. She works her ass off, puts her remaining couple of kids through college, puts herself through college for political science, and then immediately becomes some congressman's campaign manager, works her way up. And as she's looking through files for something else, she stumbles upon the old Suicide Squad, the old Task Force X files, which, remember, the first Suicide Squad was just a military unit.
Yes.
Doing daring missions kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like the A-Team almost, but
sure.
Maybe less exciting.
They were called Task Force X, but then they called themselves the Suicide Squad?
Yeah, it was that's the name that all the soldiers.
Yeah.
These guys did a Suicide Squad like that.
Yeah.
And she basically gets permission to
restart it.
And they restart a government agency to oversee it. It's initially just called the agency, and then it eventually becomes Checkmate.
Oh, sure. Where fucking Dick gets brainwashed into, right?
Oh, yeah. No, that's Spiral.
Oh.
I think you're thinking of. But Checkmate is Maxwell Lord, Amanda Waller, like all the stuff in Countdown to Infinite Crisis where Ted dies. That's all Checkmate.
I thought Dick worked for Checkmate for some reason.
No, but there is a Checkmate series, a more recent one that had like Green Arrow and The Question and Lois Lane and shit like that. But at any rate, those get restarted, and Amanda Waller is given authority to run Task Force X, which Rick Flag leads it. Nightshade gets recruited to it, and then a bunch of villains with the bombs, and that's where we first get this kind of like press ganged into government work. The initial one wasn't you get time off; it was you'll get pardoned if you survive, and more of them survived than she was planning on, and they'd have to release them.
And so she was like, "Shit, I gotta."
She was kind of like, "Fuck," you know. It's changed a bit over time. It's more of like you don't really get out of the Suicide Squad.
Sure.
Unless you're a really marketable character like Harley. So she does that. And obviously, she's very well known for that. But personality-wise, this is the thing where I think of you. It's that thing of like she's working as like someone's like executive assistant or like attaché or whatever. And then she's looking through files. She goes like, "Oh, this seems interesting. Can I run this?" And there's no reason for them to say yes. She has no field experience. There's nothing like that. And they just go like, yeah, sure, I guess. And she's kind of like that. She just always inserts herself. She's always overstepping the bounds of her actual role to a point where then they're like, she's already doing it. Just let her like that part of her. I'm like, that's some fucking Richard ass shit.
But guess what, folks? That's just the way the world works.
I mean, it doesn't have to be.
We're not fixing things, so may as well.
You know me, the eternal optimist.
Yeah, which is funny because that's the way I describe myself all the time.
You think you're an optimist?
Yeah,
you're way too cynical to be an optimist.
What am I cynical about?
Not like me.
Yeah, of the two of us, you're the chill.
Sound off in the comments. Who's the eternal optimist? I'm sure I'll come out fine.
I'm sure.
But she really does do that. And if we're being really true to Waller, her thing is that she wants to preserve American interests and the lives of ordinary people. Now, I say that, but she is 100% you have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet sort of person. She'll trade lives. She's no Picard. There's no a better path thing. She does what she has to do, no matter how she has to do it, for the greater good. She's a real trolley car kind of kind of person. Which makes what she's doing right now a little nebulous. The Earth 3 thing really made no sense. Just go to Earth 3 and take over there, and because it wasn't working on
to what end? Yeah.
Sense. The stuff right now makes slightly more sense in that she now views all metahumans as a threat. Yes. Superheroes and whatever. So now she's kind of become this very shadowy figure manipulating these events that are affecting everyone.
Yeah.
It's still maybe a little too villainous.
Well, for somebody who's like not technically like that powerful in the government.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like she's like...
I mean, she is now, though. I mean,
but is she like the head of the Pentagon? Like, what? Like,
but here's the thing. She's always working these black ops things. They're always off the books and that. Like, she rarely reports.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, she's not in any of the usual, like, reporting structures. She has an enormous amount of power. She's been played by a bunch of different actors relatively well.
Yeah.
Viola Davis, obviously.
The best one.
And the version of her in, well, do you know what? Even in the first one, she's great.
Yes.
And that version of her character is pretty close.
Yeah.
Her in the Suicide Squad is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, your mission's done. We protected American interests. Get out of there. And they're like, shouldn't we save the day? She's like, fucking no.
Yeah, that's not what we're doing here.
You know, like that kind of shit is very Waller. She was voiced by CCH Pounder in the...
Hell yeah.
In the animated, in like Justice League Unlimited and stuff like that. Insert Glenn Howerton's amazing CCH Pounder impression.
So fucking good.
She was played by Angela Bassett in the Green Lantern movie, but in that movie they were like, we'll use the name Amanda Waller, but here you'll be a nothing scientist that dies right away. So totally useless.
Sure.
Throwaway of the character. And then there was, I can't remember the actor's name, but the version of Waller on Arrow and in the Arrowverse was personality-wise pretty close. But yeah. She's fucking tough as nails. She's the Wall. Watch any episode of Justice League Unlimited or watch the Suicide Squad. Those are both great versions of Amanda Waller.
Love Amanda Waller. So good.
I think she was played by Pam Grier in Smallville.
Wow. Jesus.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. That means we're leaving Reddit. We're heading over to the Doc Scored. New year, new you.
May Doc's acquaintance be forscored and never scored to Docs. And Docs scored to Docs, and Docs with the scored to Docs the scored. Nice. I mean, that doesn't make less sense than the real lyrics.
You don't know what Old Lang Syne means?
I don't know what most of that song means.
Yeah, no, me either.
You said that so incredulously, like you were going to teach me.
No, I know. I'm just good at it.
I missed you, man.
Missed you too.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable saying that to each other online.
Yeah, I said it, and I was like, was that too real?
It was a little bit, and I was like, I missed you
I felt
too.
really weird, and you didn't respond right away, and I was like, ugh.
It was uncomfortable for both of us.
Can we go back to it being unspoken?
Yeah, it's unspoken.
Don't worry, I also felt weird.
Good, I'm glad.
If you were worried you were the only one that felt weird about it, you weren't.
I was like, what is he dying? Like,
well, no, but like I said it, but like in the way like that I'd say it to you in the room, be like, I missed you, bud. But when you just write, I miss you.
It comes
it's so fucking dramatic.
Yeah.
And then I was like, ugh. And
it was also apropos of nothing. So I was just like, is everything all right?
Yeah, I also felt weird about that.
From First Mage, who asks, what's the deal with Ghostmaker? He's one of Bruce's frenemies going way back?
Yeah, Ghostmaker is a character that showed up around...
Is it just called a murderer?
I mean, basically. So Ghostmaker... He has a longer name that I can't remember, but his name is essentially...
Man who kills people from the 1800s.
No, I mean his real thing. It's called Coacon.
Oh, sure.
Essentially, the retcon is that he and Bruce met and knew each other when Bruce was in his, like, I'll go and train in different disciplines.
Sure.
Pre the Batman.
Sure.
But where Bruce was like, I need to have a rule that I don't break, and blah, blah, blah. And Coacon is, like, kind of clinically psychopathic. Still, quote, doing good, but has no empathy. And he's just like, no, you just kill a bad guy.
Sure.
Who's going to miss them? You know, like...
The name's Ghostmaker. What did you think?
Well, so he becomes the Ghostmaker. They retconned a bunch of things that he had always kind of been there. The reason he'd never been in Gotham was that he and Bruce had, like, a truce. Where Bruce would not hunt him down. Like, basically, Ghostmaker's MO would be to, like, go to a city for a year, fucking rid it of crime, and then leave. And there'd just be, like, the bodies of mobs and shit like that. People would be like, what happened? And be like, I don't know. But people in the
weird amount of ghosts around them.
People in the shadows would be like, oh, that, like, fucking Ghostmaker was in town.
Sure.
Kind of thing. And Bruce basically was like, I won't.
Don't do it in Gotham and you're fine.
Yeah, stay out of Gotham, essentially. But after the Joker War, where Joker takes over Bruce's, like, Wayne Industry holdings and all of his tech and stuff like that, Ghostmaker's like, do you know what, Bruce? You're not fit to defend Gotham.
Okay.
So now I'm here. And they have a sort of like... Eventually, they become allies. Ghostmaker ends up leading Batman Incorporated. But essentially, like, this character didn't exist before whenever Joker War was, like 4 years ago or 5 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But then they retconned old stories where it's like Bruce and, like, Dick as Robin saw him in, like, Indonesia or Singapore or some shit.
Yeah.
So they retconned in that he's been a part of, like, Bruce's... He's a dark reflection of Bruce from his training and stuff like that. Someone that would just be like, yeah, I'd love to get trained by, like, Ra's al Ghul. All that kind of stuff.
The untethered Bruce, yeah.
Yeah, essentially. But really, really cool. He's got a cool outfit. I mean, very anime kind of outfit, but it's like a white mask with these scarves and swords and all this kind of, like... he would probably run with swords out like this.
Sure.
Like he's pretty cool looking though. But yeah, that's Ghostmaker more or less.
Nice. He sounds cool.
Yeah, he's sort of come around. He's mostly on the side of the angels. He sort of has Azrael energy a little bit in the way that, like, you know, he's pretty violent, and you go like, I trust you, but also I'm gonna keep an eye on you.
Yeah.
Azrael has the added layer of the sort of like religious programming and like the cult kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Ghostmaker, they just replaced that with he's a psychopath, so empathy is not a thing he has. So if he's not killing people, it's just because he's telling himself not to, not because he actually believes it's good or anything like that.
Next question comes from Dan, who asks, what's the deal with Merlin in Justice League Dark? Felt like a lot happened.
Yeah, so I mean, Merlin exists in DC.
Yep.
Most famously, Merlin is the magician that binds Jason Blood and Etrigan together.
Sure.
That's always been part of it. Etrigan's always had an Arthurian kind of bent, but there's lots of characters connected to Arthurian legend. Madame Xanadu is Nimue from that time. So Merlin exists. He's always been there, and DC does do this thing where they take kind of magical characters from real myth and they make them like the most powerful mages of like the more ancient wild magic days. We've talked about Hecate when we did Witching Hour. They worked Hecate in as like this goddess of magic.
So cool.
Very cool. Merlin is this like incredibly powerful mage from, again, a wilder age of magic kind of thing. In Justice League Dark, I'm going to be honest, I kind of lost track of his full motivation during this time. But he was one of those ones that was sort of like, I never should have trusted magic to look what you've done. You know, like...
Sure, kind of like in that Witching Hour thing.
Very similar in some ways, but Merlin was, I would say, more out of character sinister. Because Hecate was all like... In that Witching Hour one, like Hecate has... It's that the crone has taken over of the three, sides to Hecate, right? But the Merlin one, be like, you're Merlin. You made Etrigan. But then he keeps showing up and he's just like, I'm just going to fucking run your, like, show. Like, fuck you.
Weird.
Like, he's a little too, I don't know, it's a little out of character. But there was that kind of, that it's such an old trope in these magic things, which is like, you don't deserve the power with which you've been gifted.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. He was gathering old artifacts. He was trying to open a portal. Like, there's all this kind of... shit. I'll be honest, I really lost track of that plot thread, though.
Understandable.
Cool design for him, though. But yeah, I mean, he felt like a pretty big threat, like, because he's Merlin. They almost set him up as like an author of some of the rules of magic. You know, and the rules of magic do change. There's different ages of magic and things like that. But Merlin just knows all the old tricks, or he knows tricks that have been forgotten, or all these kind of things. You know, there's that sort of element to him.
But like a weird version of him, yeah.
Well, he was like in a suit, like, all this kind of, because it was the modern age or whatever. It was a pretty cool design for him, but I kind of wish they just made it like Mordru. Just make it a different. I didn't love that it was Merlin to me.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense. Next question from Lieutenant Commander Damiana of the Maquis, who asks, is Atrocitus Zaddy? Also, what's his deal?
We've talked about Atrocitus. Do you think he's Zaddy?
No.
No?
Not particularly.
No. What's the definition of Zaddy?
It's like a hot dad-looking guy.
But is Zaddy meant to be older too?
Yeah.
Is that part of it, or am I just making that part of it?
No, I think that's correct.
Right. In that way and that way alone, if Atrocitus was anything sexy, he'd be Zaddy.
Sure.
Because he is old. He's quite ancient.
Yeah, I don't know if ancient is the level of Zaddy, but...
No, that's what they mean.
Okay.
Yeah. Christ.
Yeah.
He's Zaddy.
So Zaddy.
Tutankhamun.
Sure. Yep, Zaddy.
Who else is that? Imhotep.
Yeah.
Who else is Zaddy?
Other Egyptian people, yeah. Other Middle Eastern people.
Easy.
Jesus. Emo chap.
Fair. The thing, I mean, so Atrocitus is quite old. He's one of the 5 inversions. He's from the planet Ryut in Sector 666. And his race was wiped out. He becomes the Chief Red Lantern. He's like a blood mage, but he's not like attractive. He's pretty, oh yeah, he has Dexter the cat. My wife was making a cat mime at me.
She said, I want you to touch my butt.
I stopped myself from making that joke.
It's kind of the idea.
But he's like the head of the Red Lanterns. He's a blood mage in that, but he looks like fucked up. Like he's this giant red,
sure,
like scary, thorny,
not hot,
scary. I guess if that's your thing that he's at.
I mean,
it's not
me on. I could see it. Yeah,
it's not mine. Yeah. Okay, let me flip this then. Of all the Green Lantern villains, who's the most zaddy?
Oh, I mean, I guess. Oh God, I don't know.
It's gotta be Sinestro, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Mustache ride, baby.
Yeah. All right, easy.
No.
We're
doing this.
What's the deal?
Oh, with Atrocitus?
Yeah.
I mean, I said it. Like, his race was wiped out, and he channeled all of that rage into becoming, like, the Red Lantern, essentially.
Sure. All right, last question.
Okay.
From Stump Chunkman. Step into the stump! Stump Chunkman!
What a way to end.
I moved them things around so
I like it.
Yeah.
It's good.
And what a perfect question for you. What's a Starman?
Oh my God. Starman
waiting in the sky. He'd like to dox your score, but he doesn't know sure why.
So,
what?
I'm going to do a quick rundown of Starman because there are so many of them.
Yeah.
And again, the thing that I love about that Starman series is that like they were all different and not connected to each other. And the Starman series makes them all part of one big sort of
love when DC does that
lineage, basically. And not even in the way where it's like, and then I handed this to him and he handed this to him. It's just like, oh, you were a Starman when there wasn't one here. You're part of the family. Like they just bring them in, and I really like that. But the original Starman, Ted Knight, he's a member of the Justice Society of America. He had like a really great classic Golden Age costume, which is like it was a red, like superhero costume, green trunks, a red finned like helmet with no face, green cape, a yellow belt, big yellow star on the thing, and he had this thing called at first it was a gravity rod, and then it was the cosmic rod.
Yes.
Gave him the old cosmic rod.
Yeah.
Not the cosmic Todd.
Iron helps us play.
So, what that technology did that Ted Knight invented was absorb like cosmic energies and then turn it into something he could use to fly, to project shields, to blast energy, to make light, to do all sorts of different things. And so Ted Knight was the Starman. That's one. His son David Knight, briefly a Starman for about a week until he is shot and killed.
Jeez. And
he just fucking dies in issue 1 of this Robinson Starman series. His other son, who thinks superheroes are lame.
Oh, we don't like that.
Jack Knight ends up becoming Starman and sort of learns the value of an older style of heroism and things like that. He's the one, if you've ever seen him, he just has goggles and a leather jacket and like a little sheriff's badge. Like he's not in a superhero outfit, but that's the main Starman of that Starman series that I was talking about. Okay, so there's a few other ones that happened in the intervening time publication-wise, like in the 70s and 80s and things like that. So, one, there was this Starman called Prince Gavin. He was an alien. from Throne World, and basically he was a prince that got betrayed and thrown out into space, where he gets this cosmic power and he becomes Starman. He had a staff as well, but it was just like a shepherd's crook, like a brown wooden shepherd's crook.
Oh, okay.
But he had all these star powers in that. Prince Gavin, well, he died a couple of times, but most notably, he died during Crisis on Infinite Earths. He gets destroyed by the Antimatter's antimatter wave. There's a different Starman, Will Payton, who's a guy on Earth who gets struck by a beam from a satellite, and it gives him all of these powers that let him fly and be strong and project energy and all these kind of things. He was Starman. His outfit was like black with an upside down red and white star. Pretty cool outfit. They retcon it in that Starman series that Prince Gavin, when he gets destroyed by the antimatter wave, it's actually his soul energy that beams down and hits Will Payton and gives him Starman powers. So they actually connect them. So it's Prince Gavin's soul inside Will Payton's body. Sure. And Will Payton ends up having a kind of like anatomy lesson Swamp Thing sort of thing, where he's like, am I Will Payton with Prince Gavin's memories, or am I Prince Gavin with Will Payton's memories? And he he keeps switching between them, and he can't remember who he is. So they do that with him a little bit. There's also Starman Tom Kalor, who is Star Boy of the Legion of Superheroes in the very, very far future. They retcon him to actually be a reincarnation of a cop that helps Starman in the modern age, Matty O'Dare, I'm pretty sure it's Matty, who himself was a reincarnation of Scalp Hunter, an old Western character that exists in DC. They tied them together. There's a Starman that showed up in like 1 or 2 issues of Detective Comics in 1951. They even worked that Starman in, so that David Knight, the one who was the Starman for a week before getting shot and killed, actually got, in one last moment, sent back in time, spent a year as the Starman of 51, and then was sent back forward in time to the moment of his death.
Okay.
So that's that Starman. There's Ferris Knight, the Starman of the 853rd century in DC 1 million, a long descendant who actually betrays the Justice Legion Alpha briefly and is working with Solaris, the artificial sun.
You can call it a stepson.
The stepson, of course. Yeah. The sun guzzler, if you will. Eventually, slightly connected to this, but tangentially, Ted Knight also invents a thing. He takes the technology of his gravity rod and he basically creates the cosmic converter belt, which was the technology used by Sylvester Pemberton, the Star-Spangled Kid. And it gave the same kind of powers as the gravity rod. That belt eventually goes to Courtney Whitmore, who becomes the new Star-Spangled Kid, and her stepdad, Pat Dugan, who was Stripesy, becomes Stripe, the giant robot, adult sidekick to Courtney Whitmore.
Yeah.
At the end of the Starman series, Jack Knight is done being Starman, and he gives the cosmic staff to Courtney, and she becomes Stargirl.
Like in the show, yeah.
So she's part of this whole lineage too.
Yeah. She's a star person.
She actually inherits both the Star-Spangled Kid mantle and the Starman mantle.
Yeah.
So a ton of different Starmen, obviously. Oh, I forgot one. Michael Thomas, a blue alien Starman who comes to Earth, and he had a sonic crystal in his chest that gave him different powers than that. That Starman loosely either based on or would go on to inspire, in a very small way, the Starman movie with Kurt Russell.
Jesus.
There's some sort of weird relationship to that and Bowie and shit like that. So all of those are Starman, and they're all part of one big family, and some of them are like literally handing the torch, and some of them are just not. They're just connected by them having met each other.
That's crazy.
Or things like that. The thing I love about Starman, though, is it's this like a very kind of romantic but Art Deco-y, really like retrofuturist kind of thing about cosmic energies, but using this piece of machinery. You know, it feels like...
Yeah.
Yeah, and the art aesthetic of that Starman series is 100% plays into that retrofuturism thing, or a little steampunk at times, and all those kind of things. Just really, really cool. Starman has become like a real secret love kind of character of mine. Even just Ted Knight, the Golden Age one. There's something I just love about it. But yeah, technically, character's still alive in Stargirl.
So cool.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Well, damn. That was your Stumptastic episode.
Yeah.
What's the deal?
Whoop.
What's the deal, man? We would love to continue this conversation.
Yes, please.
Online. You can send us questions for next week's episode.
Do you know what? I haven't thought of one, but what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Next week's episode is about refugees and displaced characters.
Oh my God, Richard.
What?
Jesus.
That happens.
I know, but you're so bad at treating these things with...
Guess we'll find out.
Let's do it. Refugees, displaced characters. I'm sure it'll be a fun one.
That's right.
Send your questions.
Cage him up.
Jesus Christ.
Build that wall.
Good Lord.
You can reach out to us through our various social media platforms.
We're Dr. DC Podcast on the platforms.
That's right. Also,
another year, same as last year.
Yeah, we'll win another award. You know how it goes.
Yeah, they're daring us at this point.
I mean, yeah. What's this year?
This year will be unawardable.
Well, can we go back to the first year now? The first award we won this year?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the statute of limitations is.
Yeah.
You definitely can't win them back to back. You're not allowed to be nominated.
But I thought we couldn't do it again this year for another one. It was.
Yeah. I don't know.
It better be this year.
I don't know, man.
Otherwise, we're going to have... No, I'm not going to do news. Indigenous awards.
No,
we're really proud of the Nerdy North for that.
Yeah, totally. Shout out to the Nerdy North who guested back in November. On our show.
I literally shouted out loud.
They won Outstanding Indigenous Series at the Canadian Podcast
So
Awards.
rad. Those girls deserved it.
Another Yukon podcast and a third Yukon podcast also won. Yukon proportionally bodied the rest of Canada this year.
Yeah, I'm like, if fucking Frisky North of Zesty takes it.
So close to taking 4 categories. That would have been quite the coup. I mean, still quite the coup anyway. But.
Truly, yeah. That's what happens. All right, well, if you give us a 5-star review, we will read it on a future episode. If you want even more content from us, we've got a Patreon.
Patreon.com/DrDC. There's a $1, $5, $7 level. They all give you access to the Doc Squad, our amazing Discord fan community. At the higher levels, you get bonus episodes. It's Personal Confessions January on the Double Dose. And at the highest level, there's a bunch of like rewatch series and a bunch of extra content there.
Don't forget Toretto Talks. We want to get
Toretto
deep into
Talks,
those vindies.
So a thing we can be proud of.
Yeah. Next week is our Johnny Depp marathon.
Yeah, just wait until we rewatch The Cosby Show. Bonding
Be
time.
Cosby.
Bonding time is up there. The current rewatch series I'm doing with my wife. We're almost through with all of the James Bond movies.
Finally,
we've only got 3 left at this point.
I'm sure your wife doesn't regret it.
She doesn't. We've been having a nice time.
Whether she likes it or not.
Well, I'm speaking for her.
Yeah,
right
well,
now,
of course.
yeah.
You are the man.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess in that relation.
Yeah.
Also, if you like our content here, we've got a one-time award-winning podcast.
Yeah, only one, and that's probably it for that one.
Yeah.
Ghostfacers, a supernatural rewatch. Beloved by the plebes, though.
Yes. The masses enjoy it.
The masses enjoy it. That pablum. Not like this sophisticated content.
Well, of course.
So we're rewatching every single episode of the CW Supernatural. We talk real-world monster lore. Sometimes I fold in Amanda Waller's backstory. We talk about behind-the-scenes stuff about the show.
It's a tsunami of content.
It was an accident. I didn't mean to invoke the
Richter scale of
tsunami.
Quality content. That's it for this week.
Adios.
Ciao, ciao.
They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.